This week, Mill Street is in Taipei, Taiwan. You may not know much about Taiwanese cuisine. I certainly didn't. It's probably the most interesting, most varied cuisine I've ever tasted. We're going to learn how to make a great scallion pancake. This is an older shop in town. They have been making them for decades. They have a special recipe for the dough, and they don't fry the pancake in oil. They actually do it on a dry griddle, so we like that a little bit better. Then we finish up by going to a cooking school. This is a woman, Zhuang Pao Ha, who's been cooking for 40 years. Bringing back the old Taiwanese recipes. She's teaching this to people who, by and large, want to become professionals, cooking at night markets and food stalls, in restaurants, or going back to the U.S. and then cooking professionally there. And we're going to bring that to you today on Milk Street. Please stay tuned.
Funding for this series was provided by the following.
Ferguson's proud to support Milk Street and culinary crusaders everywhere. For more information on our extensive collection of kitchen products, we're on the web at fergusonshowrooms.com.
For 25 years, Consumer Cellular's goal has been to provide wireless service that helps people communicate and connect. We offer a variety of no-contract plans, and our U.S.-based customer service team can help find one that fits you. To learn more, visit consumercellular.tv.
Cooking happens in the kitchen, but life happens around the kitchen table. The 1919 collection, celebrating yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Visit us at www.1919cookware.com.
We arrived in Taiwan from a short stay in Tokyo, and what a difference. Taiwan has been called the Portland of the Far East, and for really good reason. It's small, under 3 million people, relaxed, friendly, and the street food is just incredible. Today, Taipei, its capital, is really quite modern, with a mix of back alleys and two-story shops, along with skyscrapers and a bustling downtown. On the first day, we headed to a small scallion pancake shop off of one of those back alleys, where Qin Jia Bing Dian, 80 years old, gave me a private cooking lesson. We started in the back room where the dough was made, portioned, and rested before rolling out to an incredibly thin pancake. Just tell her I'm really good at this for making pies in America. That'll really impress her, I'm sure.
不见得会做这个。
Oh, she said, can you show her?
What I do is this. I go and I turn like this. I go like that.
他只要会发面。
She's making fun of me, I can tell. It doesn't work for this.
It doesn't take a skill. You just...
对不对？
It doesn't take skill.
What do you mean it doesn't take skill? What? You're making fun of me here. Flip it over like that, right? Not so good.
不对，还要再给你一次机会。
What was this for? What did she say?
You get one more chance.
对，因为这个就是你要常常
This is really hard to do.
撒盐巴，
Salt, yeah.
Make sure the salt is applied
这样子。
evenly.
When she did it for the first time, was she like me?
Oh.
Was she as bad as I am?
他说你第一次做的时候有像他这样子吗？是
一样。
The same,
Oh, the
just
same.
like you.
Okay, I feel better. Just like me.
有一天，他自己会转了，哦，我很高兴。
You practice day after day, day after day, and all of a sudden one day,
It happens.
the dough is turning itself, and then she was just overjoyed.
Delicious.
谢谢
Very
你
good,
的
thank
夸
you.
奖。
Thank you.
谢谢。 As you just saw, we went to Taipei and I learned to make a scallion pancake in that little bakery. Now, it's true that no matter where I go, people tell me I'm doing everything wrong. So even the 80-year-old baker who'd been doing this 33 years showed me how not to do it because I kept doing it wrong. Then we went out a little later in the day and had a different kind of scallion pancake. This is called a hand grab pancake. It was from a little store on the corner. And they have a very thin pancake. It's flaky on the outside. It's called hand grab because it's a little stretchy on the inside. We're going to do that one. And you can tell me I'm doing it all wrong.
Like I usually do.
I traveled 10,000 miles back, so you could tell me how to do it wrong.
Well, I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying this is the best thing that's ever come out of our kitchen, but it's a project piece. And I know you usually like things to be really quick and easy. This is well worth the effort. It just takes a little bit of time. And so we're going to break it down into 3 parts. The first part is making the dough, then we're going to shape the dough, then we're going to cook the pancakes. So 3 simple steps.
I'm very suspicious. That sounds really easy, but I bet it's a little more work.
I'm trying to sneak it by you.
Okay, so let's start with the dough.
Let's start with the dough. This is a super simple dough. There's actually no leavener. So we start with 1.25 cups of water. To that, I'm just going to add 1 large egg and whisk that together. And then we're going to move into the mixer. This is 4.5 cups of bread flour. And you don't want to substitute all-purpose flour here. We really need the extra protein in the bread flour to add that chew that you mentioned. And then this is 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. And then I'm just going to turn this on and let this mix together just so all of that salt gets incorporated into the flour. And while that's going, I'm going to add our last ingredient. This is 8 tablespoons of melted salted butter. Just going to add that to the rest of the liquid ingredients. And then we'll just add this sort of in a slow stream. So like I said, this is about as simple a dough as you can make. And it should take about a minute. So we have a dough forming here. I'm just going to turn this down to medium-low. And we're going to let that knead for 7 minutes. So if we just poke this a little bit, you can see that it pounces right back. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on the counter. And I'm just going to press it into a circle. But again, you don't have to be specific about this. We're just going to cut it into 8 equal pieces. You don't need to weigh anything. You don't want them wildly different, but just small variations is not a big deal here.
So you can mess up a little, but not
Right, not
too
a lot.
much. Okay.
And then we're going to shape these into balls. And you want to do that on the clean part of your countertop because you actually want the traction. And I just tuck the ends in to the bottom. This will be the bottom. Flip it over, give it a little pinch on the bottom, and then just roll it. And we're going to transfer these into a 9x13 baking dish that has 1/2 cup of oil in it. You can use peanut or canola oil.
Wait. Why 1/2 cup of oil?
This dough is going to sit in the refrigerator overnight. We don't want it to dry out because we really need this to be a nice pliable dough when we go to stretch it out into a pancake. So just give it a little coat. Do you want to do some of these with me?
I knew you were going to say that.
You can do it however you want. This is, you just want to get it into a ball.
Now what am I doing? Doing this?
Yeah, just pinch it so that the bottoms are kind of getting pinched together.
Yeah.
And roll it around. And this is where you need that traction on the dry countertop because it's going to pull those ends together and make a nice taut ball. Put that in here
that's
for
okay?
you. Yeah, I guess it's sufficient.
No, that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me in all these years. It's sufficient.
I don't typically hand out high praise.
No, we know that about you.
So like I said, these have to go into the refrigerator overnight, and the dough will be a lot easier to work with. So I'm just going to cover it and pop it in the fridge. We'll come back and finish it off.
Okay.
So our dough balls have been sitting overnight. I took them out about an hour ago. You want to make sure they come to room temperature before we start this process. It'll be a lot easier to press this out if they're slightly warmer. The first thing we need to do is put oil on the countertop. The messy art project part of this comes in.
I sort of feel like Mr. Rogers now.
And then I'm going to spread it around. You definitely don't want this to stick because we are going to press this out very thin. And it would be a real shame if we press this all the way out and it stuck to the counter. So the first thing we're going to do is press this into...
So wait, before you start, you have this little ball of dough.
Yes.
And you just made this huge area of the oil. You're going to spread this out to be almost this size?
It's going to be pretty big. You'll see.
It's
impressive.
Yeah, we're going to see.
It's impressive. I usually like to start from the center because it's a lot harder to get that thin as this gets bigger. Do you see that you can
could read a
see
newspaper through
the countertop through
Well, sorry,
here?
nobody reads newspapers anymore. I'm sorry. But anyway.
So I'm getting a couple of holes here as I press it. It's not a big deal at all. And if you want to give this a try, pressing it out, this dough is so easy to work with. It's actually not that hard to get it
You're
in.
taking a ball of dough and making it the size of Texas. And you're
Basically.
saying that's not hard?
No, try it.
That's pretty cool.
See how easy it is? What we're creating here is sort of like a laminated dough like you would use to make croissants. So what you do when you make croissants is you have a dough and you have a butter layer and you fold them together. And the butter that's in the dough steams and puffs those layers up. And so that's how you get the light and flaky texture on this scallion pancake.
How do you know it's large enough now?
It should be about 18 inches.
Okay.
But again, this is not one of those recipes that you have to be super specific about. This is half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to use my very messy hand to sprinkle this on here. So that's a tablespoon of butter that I spread on there. And now we're going to fold it. So you're just going to fold this up like a letter.
Look at that. It came off
See?
the counter.
And you just want to even off the edges here. And again, the holes here are not going to be relevant when we finish this off. You can't have a scallion pancake without some scallions. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of scallions to this. And the reason why we wait to add the scallions is if we added them when we had that really, really thin dough, they would break through the dough. So now another layer of folds. You're just going to take it from the end and fold it over about 4 inches. And just keep folding it over itself. So you have a little kind of rectangular packet. And then we're going to transfer these to a well-oiled plate. And we're going to cover these and put them in the fridge just for about 15 minutes to get a little bit more firm before we go ahead and cook them. So Chris, these have been sitting in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes. You can also leave these in the fridge overnight if you want to do it a little bit ahead of time. We're going to add a little bit more oil to our counter and do the final shaping. And I'm just going to press this into about an 8-inch oval. And again, this is not something that has to be perfect.
As long as it's not bigger than your pan.
Exactly.
That's the only key requirement.
And we have a cast iron skillet that's been heating for about 3 to 5 minutes over medium. And we want to cook this over sort of a low heat because we really want to make sure those layers puff up. This will take about 5 to 7 minutes. So Chris, you can see that this is puffing up, and that's really just from the butter. The butter has water in it. That's creating steam, and that's making those layers. This is brown on the bottom, so we're gonna flip it over and cook the other side. And you see it still puffs up even at this point. This is gonna cook for another 5 to 7 minutes. So this is finished cooking. And now we need to do our final step. And this is something we saw in Taiwan. They do this with a spatula and tongs really, really fast on the griddle. We couldn't do that part. So we do ours by covering the pancake with a clean dish towel and then pushing the pancake toward itself like an accordion. So you're just gonna scrunch it together.
Why the scrunch?
So what that does is it really opens up those layers.
Oh,
so you
okay.
kind of get more distinct layers doing it that way. So I'm just gonna turn it 90 degrees and repeat that same step. So it looks kind of crazy like this, but when you pull this apart, you'll see why they call it a hand grab pancake. You grab it with your hand and you can see those light flaky layers on the inside, and this scrunching process really separates those layers.
Okay.
Now we can finally eat them.
Why do we have forks? We don't need forks.
No, hand grab.
We don't need plates. Do we need plates? Yeah, okay. So this is a
soy dipping sauce.
soy dipping sauce,
Yep.
and this is
A tamarind butter.
wow.
I know, it's kind of amazing. It uses tamarind chutney, which is a little bit easier to find than tamarind paste. And both of these recipes you can find on the website.
I don't know what to say. After 40 years, I'm speechless. This is so good. I mean,
told you.
you're right. It's a bit of a project,
But it was all easy.
and
Wasn't
you get to
nothing-
scrunch at the end.
I
Right?
know. You have to try the tamarind butter.
Well, I'm really a little concerned about putting something on this because it's so good. When I travel, I like to bring back a souvenir from the country I went to, but we went to Taipei, and the ultimate souvenir is the Taiwanese Flaky Scallion Pancake. This is the gift that just keeps on giving. You can make this all the time. It's a little bit of work, but we think this is the best recipe we've ever made. So Taiwanese Flaky Scallion Pancake every day. Taipei is just about every type of street food, from grilled squid to pepper pork buns. And the woman who has trained many of these street vendors is Chuang Bao Hua, who has run the Changhua Culinary Teaching Center for over 30 years. I decided to visit the school to get a private lesson on how to make a classic Taiwanese dish, red braised pork with rice.
We're gonna make the most famous dish in Taiwan. It's red braised pork rice. Every family
has their own version of it?
Yes.
What kind of pork would you use? Like a pork shoulder?
Pork belly.
Oh,
When you give out the fragrance, you add in the pork skin.
It has a lot of spices and pantry ingredients, so it looks like one of those things you could make because you have everything on hand.
We'll braise the sauce in that pot for about 1 hour.
Thank you. Shay.
Yeah, perfect.
Wow. What it has are lots of different flavors. It's very soft. The texture is very soft. This is not a flavor you would ever get in America. This is excellent.
在美国吃不到的味道。
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to meet you. Thank you. You know, during my trip to Taipei, there was great street food. There are night markets which have maybe 100 stalls, just great food, and really interesting stuff, like an ice cream burrito, for example. Anyway, we went to cook with a Zheng Bao Hua. She's a cooking teacher. She has her own culinary school. It's been there for over 30 years, the Zheng Hua Culinary Academy. She's 70. She looks like she's about 40. She's got great energy. She's just really a charming person. And we made a very simple braised pork dish. It's braised pork served on rice. It's a one-bowl dish. It's called Roe Fun. And it's really easy to do. She did it with a wok where she stir-fried some pork, some other ingredients, put that all into a terracotta pot with some pork stock, 5-spice powder, soy sauce, etc. and cooked it, braised it for about an hour. So your job was to figure out how to take this great recipe from Taipei, which we thought would actually translate well, and simplify it a bit for the home cook here.
The recipe you brought back was amazing. It was full of all sorts of things, winter melon and fermented black beans, and several different types of pork. I mean, it started with pork belly and pork skin, which adds this really velvety texture and all that gelatin. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start with ground pork, and we're gonna marinate it with a little soy first. There's about a 1/4 cup of soy, which we're gonna add to 1.5 pounds of ground pork.
Now, she had two choices. You can use ground pork, which is very fatty, and she also had pork belly. So they make it with both types of pork.
I'm sure it was delicious. You could have brought samples back, Chris.
I did. I just explained it. It was a verbal sample.
It's a really important point with our version of this recipe is that you really need to use low sodium soy sauce. We're going to use a full cup of soy here, so it's going to come across as too salty if you use regular soy. So Chris, I'm going to mix this really well so the pork hydrates and it absorbs the flavor of that soy. Once I've done that, I'm going to take it over to the refrigerator and keep it refrigerated until we need it. And now we're going to start cooking, Chris. So can you turn the pot on to medium? We're going to add a 1/4 cup of grapeseed or other neutral oil here. And we're going to cook 12 ounces of shallots, and we're going to slice them pretty thin. A trick I like to do is making a little notch right down the center, and it makes it much easier to peel. So you can just peel it in halves. We're going to cross-cut these down lengthwise, so you can even leave that peel right on the root. And then we're going to cook these down until they're really brown, because that's going to add a lot of depth and flavor to this. We're just about shimmering, so we're going to add these to the pot. I'm going to give you the spatula so you can do something around here today.
Okay.
So we're going to cook these again until they're really well browned and deep and caramelized. Without the fermented black beans, those other ingredients you learned about in Taiwan, we really want that deep brown shallot flavor.
Okay.
So Chris, it's been about 17 minutes at this point, and these shallots are looking great. They're really deeply browned, and I'm going to chop the garlic. This dish takes a whopping 10 cloves of garlic, but it's going to cook down. Again, adds a ton of flavor to this really homey.
You know how much time you spend on the show telling me that there are not too many chilies, there's not too much garlic, right?
We like big
Not
flavor.
too much hot sauce. Yeah.
We like big flavor. So Chris, when I chop garlic, so I want to do it by hand. If you throw it in the processor, it picks up sort of the sulfurous flavors. So what you're going to do, just take your clove and your knife and smash it. Just like that. And you can just keep smashing them, slide it off your blade, and then just rock the knife back and forth. You can even put a couple fingers towards the front of the blade and just bounce the knife almost, because it's got that nice rock. And just back and forth. So we're chopped up. Gonna clean that blade off and add it to the rest of my garlic using the front of that cleaver. And we want to cook that for about a minute until it's really fragrant. So stir, Chris, come on.
Well, just give me a second here.
Do
Jeez.
something.
Okay.
The garlic's smelling great. The shallots are well browned. So at this point, we're going to start adding the flavorings of this. So 1 1/4 cups of dry sherry. You don't need to buy anything too fancy, but do make sure it's dry sherry, and do not, by any
Use
means,
cooking sherry.
the last thing this dish needs is any more salt. So we're going to add 3/4 cup of low sodium soy, 3 tablespoons brown sugar. Our final seasoning here is 5-spice powder, a whopping 2 tablespoons of this stuff. Now, 5-spice is great. It's one of my favorite flavorings. It can really vary depending on the region, but quiz time. What's in 5-spice?
I bet there's 7 spices in 5-spice.
Clove, cinnamon, anise or fennel seed, star anise, like those star-shaped pods, Szechuan peppercorns, or black pepper. Is that 5?
You have 5 fingers up there.
I do. Okay, so again, it's 2 tablespoons. We're gonna add it in. We're gonna bring it up to high. And we really wanna cook this down till it's very syrupy and thick. When you run a spoon through it, it's gonna leave a trail across the bottom of the pot.
Okay.
About 5 minutes. So Chris, we're looking pretty good. You can see the bubbles have gotten much bigger, which means it's gotten more syrupy. You can also listen, right? Like, I don't think we listen enough while cooking, and this is a really important point. You can hear it. It's starting to cling to the sides of the pan. So clearly, you can run a spoon through, and it's leaving a streak in the bottom of the pan. So reduce the temp to low, and we're gonna add our soy marinated pork. So I'm gonna add it to the pot here. Can you give it a stir? And we really want to cook this until it's just cooked through, so it remains really tender and
So that's going to
delicate.
be pretty quick, right?
Yeah, it's only about 5 minutes. So Chris, this is looking just about ready. You can see all the pork's cooked through, and at this point, I'd say we're done. So the final touch here is a bit of vinegar. We're going to add unseasoned rice vinegar. And like the sherry, really important to get unseasoned rice vinegar, because if you buy seasoned rice vinegar, it tends to have sugar and salt in it. So 1 tablespoon goes in. Can you stir it in?
Yeah.
And we're good to go.
Okay. We should just comment that all over the Far East, they're rice bowl dishes. So you have a bowl, you have rice, you put something on top of it. That's a common way to have dinner.
Absolutely. It's a strong little something. You add to your rice, then you have garnishes. You have sauces and toppings and pickles and all sorts of stuff like that. You can add the scallions. One of the things I really like to serve it with is just some blanched bok choy to cut the richness.
I mean, you could say this is sort of like the Taipei hamburger helper, and except it's about 50 times better.
I love it. It's fantastic. And instead of rice, you could serve it over noodles.
Oh, man. Okay, I take back the hamburger helper comment. This is so much better than that. I mean, the first thing that hits you is it's a little salty because of the soy sauce, but then you get the shallots, you get the garlic, you get the sherry, you get a lot of layers of flavor, and it's intense, which means, as you said, something intense on top of, bland rice is a really great combination. So that's the Mill Street version of the braised pork dish we brought back from Taipei, from Shuang Bao Hua, the culinary teacher. You should meet her someday.
I would love
Next time
to.
you can come over. We simplified the dish a bit, but of course it has pork, it has garlic, it has shallots, some Chinese cooking wine we use sherry instead, soy sauce, 5-spice powder. You can make this in under half an hour. It makes a great midweek meal. By the way, you can get all the recipes from this season of Mill Street at milkstreettv.com.
Funding for this series was provided by the following.
Ferguson's proud to support Milk Street and culinary crusaders everywhere. For more information on our extensive collection of kitchen products, we're on the web at fergusonshowrooms.com.
For 25 years, Consumer Cellular has been offering no-contract wireless plans designed to help people do more of what they like. Our U.S.-based customer service team can help find a plan that fits you. To learn more, visit consumercellular.tv.
Cooking happens in the kitchen, but life happens around the kitchen table. The 1919 collection, celebrating yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Visit us at www.1919cookware.com.